Just a couple of housekeeping things I want to touch on. One, I can break into geek speak at the drop of a hat, so come up and hit me in the back of the head or tweet me and tell me I'm doing that. I say cool a lot. The over-under in about 10 minutes is probably about 7. I'm Canadian. Sorry about that. This will be an expletive-laden presentation, not from my perspective, but a couple of the slides. And lastly, obviously, the hashtag TDS Europe. Just if I can step back a little bit, this was actually about 2 weeks into me joining the company, and this tweet comes up. And I'm like, okay, how do we deal with this? So it was a little bit of a play back and forth with the person on Twitter. I said, he really is a captain. And she said, yeah, but, every time I see him, he looks like he's drunk. And it ended up, in the end of it, what ended up happening was we took her little avatar there that you see, and we put a captain's hat on it. And she took it and put it on as her avatar. And then people started doing that on their own avatars on Twitter. And she ended up writing a blog post about the whole experience of dealing with Flight Center. And again, this is going back about 3 years ago, how she tweeted brand slandered this brand and how we came back and made it a fun, playful thing that engaged a number of people. So what we ended up doing was looking at how do we take on our team? How do we build out our global team? The last thing we certainly wanted was the person that drew the shortest straw to be having to manage social. We absolutely did not want that. So what we ended up doing was we went out with a campaign that got some pretty good pickup. And essentially what we asked prospective candidates to give us was 5 social links, their LinkedIn profile, their blog, their Twitter account, and 2 other of their choice. And in 140 characters or less in a tweet, tell us why we need them. It was really interesting because a lot of people came to me and said, or would ask me, but you don't have a resume. Well, I'm telling you, if you're looking to hire a social media person and their LinkedIn profile is not up to date, when we looked at, and this is Jane, who's our social media specialist here in London, when we were looking at it, we weren't just, for example, when we looked at their Twitter, we weren't looking to see if they had tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of followers. What we were looking for was the type of engagement that they did on behalf of their personal brand or the brand maybe they were representing at the time. So we actually brought on a global team. So we had a couple of people out of Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, Canada, South Africa. And it was, we really created this dynamic social media team that was able to support all those brands across all those countries. So where does it sit? I mean, this is more, I present this more as a question than I can say an answer to you, because again, so many different organizations look at social media and in different ways. One is certainly obviously from a customer service perspective. So, does social media sit under customer service? It supports brands. Is it under branding? It's another channel for PR. So is it PR? Again, this is something that you need to consider, and certainly what we had to do, we had to consider where the people sit within our organization. And we have our team sitting within marketing, but certainly with dotted lines working directly with, again, the lawyers, the customer service, the PR, and all the other areas within our organization. Then there's the lawyers in the company. Again, lawyers. This is actually our lawyer out of Canada, Craig Doherty. We really need to take into consideration both what the lawyers and the customer service groups are dealing with, because this is a new frontier for them, as it is with HR. This is a place that these groups within our organizations have never had to deal with previously. So, we can field all the customer service questions, compliments, issues. If we're not aligned with the different business units that are within our organization, it stops at social media. How many other channels are there out there? I mean, one of the things that we have to look at on a day-to-day basis is how many channels, like your Diego's slide about all the different, I tweeted that, but amazed at how many different channels you're managing. Same with us. So it's like, pick the channels that make sense for you and your business objectives. What's going to actually hit those KPIs for you? I actually had to, when I did a Google search for social media icons, I had to go and tell Google just to give me them in the last month so I could find one with Pinterest on there. So many channels, really get an idea of what's going to work best for you and drive, whatever your KPIs with traffic, growth. Hootsuite's a great tool you can grow up with, and we did. We started, managing a couple of our brands in a couple of our countries 3 years ago in Hootsuite, to the point now where we've got, all of our brands across all of our countries. What I also love about Hootsuite is the ability to workflow. So we do have an enterprise account with Hootsuite. So within this, if our team pick up any global mentions, maybe not specifically to their country or their specific brand, they can jump in there, engage the person. Again, this is about that 24/7 concierge. Hi, we see you've asked us a question. Canada's asleep right now. We've notified them. They'll get back to you first thing in the morning. And then we can assign to the appropriate person within our organization. Tracking. We heard about KPIs yesterday. I mean, one of the great things I love about Hootsuite is we can auto lock and load all the Google tracking codes so that our team don't have to go in. I think Susan and I were talking about this yesterday in terms of the frustration. Social media people don't like. I was about to generalize there. I'm going to generalize. Social media people don't like to necessarily put the tracking codes in because they're not as worried about what's happening in the back end of Google Analytics. They're more worried about the engagement side. So what I love about Hootsuite is it enables them to just one click, it's coming from Facebook, it's part of this campaign, boom, and it tags the link. In summary, for us, it was for the first thing we had to do was look at the global situation, assess it, figure out whether we're going to insource or outsource. We insource, building the team out to that, deciding the channels, deciding the activities, because you can blow your brains out going in 1,000 different directions like a shotgun. Certainly what tools are there available to you, what tools make sense for your business, and the business requirements that are in behind all of this that sum it all up. Thanks.